A night on Europa, Jupiter's ice moon. You are standing on the ice, at the edge of everything the solar system knows. The cold comes up through your boot soles before you've taken a single breath. It is so complete, so ancient, it doesn't feel like temperature. It feels like fact, like law, like the first sentence of a story told here for 4.5 billion years. The ice beneath you is real. You can feel small irregularities in its surface. You can feel the slight give of frost under your feet. You can feel the solidity of something kilometers deep below. You are standing on an ocean. The ocean is frozen above and liquid below. You are here at the very top of it. You are at the boundary between ice and the dark of space. The first thing you do, without thinking, is simply breathe. The silence is unlike anything before. On Earth, silence is an approximation. It is the absence of obvious sounds. It is the settling of a house at midnight. It is a forest clearing in winter. Here, the silence is absolute. There is no air for sound to move through. What you experience is not quietness. It is the silence of vacuum. It is a silence that has surrounded this moon since before Earth had oceans of its own, since before anything on Earth had ears to use. It makes no demands on you. It simply is, in the same way the ice is, in the same way the darkness above you is, in the same way the ancient cold is, completely, without apology, without end. And then you look up. Jupiter is rising. Over the horizon, slowly it comes. And nothing you have ever seen has prepared you for this. It is not like a moon rising, not like a planet rising, as seen from Earth, not a distant point of light brightening to a disk. Jupiter is vast, vast in a way that reorganizes everything. It reorganizes what you thought you knew about the sky. It takes up a third of everything above you. It does not hang there. It simply is there, a presence, a fact as large as a weather system, banded in cream and ochre and rust and amber. The colors of old silk, of fired clay, of late afternoon light on old stone. The bands run east to west. Within them, if you let your eyes rest and wait, you can see a slow churning, a motion so vast it only becomes visible over time, like watching a river from very high above. Jupiter breathes. Jupiter turns. It is 628,000 kilometers away, and it looks like this. You stand very still. You let the sight of it settle into you. The light it throws is not quite sunlight. It is sunlight that has traveled 93 million miles. It came from the sun to Jupiter, then it reflected back. It carries Jupiter's color with it. What reaches you here, on the ice, is something warmer than starlight, more diffuse than the sun. A suffused amber cream glow lies across the ice. It creates the longest possible shadows. It fills the hollows of every ridge and crack. Deep blue darkness settles there. Pale, cold gold paints the elevated surfaces. You look down at your hands. You look at your boots on the ice. You see yourself, lit by reflected light from the largest planet in the solar system. The thought is not frightening. The thought is extraordinary. You are here. You are actually here. Behind you, in every direction, the stars are out. Every direction but one, where Jupiter is rising. Their density is like nothing on Earth. Their steadiness is like nothing on Earth. There is no atmosphere here, nothing to scatter the light, no humidity, no dust, no breath of 10,000 cities. There is nothing between you and the stars, nothing but 628,000 kilometers of vacuum. The stars burn in their true colors, blue, white, and gold, and pale red, the cold silver of something very far away, all of them without a flicker, without a shimmer, without any trembling at all. That trembling is what gives them their twinkle on Earth. Here they are steady, steady as fixed points of light. They are real in a way they have never seemed real before. The Milky Way arcs above you, the full band of it. It stretches from one horizon to another, a river of light, so dense in places it looks like cloud, like smoke, like breath exhaled by something enormous into a cold night. You can see the dark rifts in it, the dust lanes that block the deeper light, the places where the galaxy turns and thickens. It thickens toward its center. You've seen photographs. You've seen the Milky Way from dark mountains, from desert flats, from ocean islands. You have never seen it like this. There is nothing between you and it. It is every star the galaxy contains, or as close to that as any eye can register, arranged above you in a shape so old the sun was young when it took this form. You breathe. The cold holds you, gently and absolutely. You are more alone than any human has ever been. No other person has stood here. Not one footstep has ever marked this ice. Not a single voice has ever moved through this space. Not in all the history of the solar system. This aloneness is not lonely. It is peaceful. It is, you realize slowly, the most peaceful place in the world, even though it is not the world, even though the world is so far away. It is a bright point of light in the starfield, just to your left. No larger than Venus looks from a summer beach. There is nothing here to want anything from you, nothing here to need anything from you. There is only the ice, and the cold, and the impossible sky. Jupiter climbs. Its light shifts as it rises. The shadows shorten, the reflections deepen, the colors change in ways that are difficult to name. You watch it move, and yet what looks still is not still. Europa orbits Jupiter at over 49,000 kilometers per hour. Jupiter itself is rotating. It completes a full turn in just under 10 hours. The storms in those cream and amber bands are always moving, hundreds of kilometers per hour. From here, they appear as fixed as painted patterns. Everything is moving, here and everywhere. The stillness you feel is not the stillness of stopped things. It is the stillness of things moving too slowly or too vastly for the eye to register. You are moving. You do not feel it. You stand still on the moving surface of a moon orbiting a planet orbiting a star. The feeling is simply rest. You begin to walk. Your first steps on Europa are careful ones, not because the surface is unstable. You want to pay attention to what walking here feels like. It feels like this. The ice is firm. There is a very faint creak of compression, the sound very cold ice makes. You feel that creak through your feet, rather than hear it. There is no air to carry the sound outward. The gravity is gentle, 1/8 of what holds you to the earth. Your stride feels lighter than usual. Each step requires a slight adjustment, a slight relearning. The familiar weight of your body has been reduced. The familiar mechanics of walking have shifted accordingly. You slow down to accommodate this. You slow down and pay attention. Paying attention here is not a discipline, it is an ease. Everything you can see, or touch, or feel with the soles of your boots is worth the full attention you have to give it. The ice is not as flat as it first appeared. As you move across it, the surface shifts and changes. Here, a stretch of smooth, refrozen ice, pale and glossy, like polished stone. Some ancient warmth from below melted the surface once, and then let it heal. There, a field of small irregular blocks, fractured, tilted at slight angles, like a floor of broken tile. Pressure from beneath pushed up through the crust and shattered it. The reddish-brown staining is everywhere, thin lines, thick veins, faint traceries across the white. Up close, you can see it is not one color, it is a range of colors, rust, ochre, a deep brick red, in some places almost black, laid into grooves and channels where the ocean below has pushed its chemical signature up through the ice over billions of years. The cracks are stained with iron sulfidides and salts, and whatever else the deep water carries. You follow one of these crack veins with your eyes. It runs straight before you, as far as you can see, perhaps 50 kilometers, perhaps 100, a long dark line crossing the white-blue plain. When it reaches the horizon, it doesn't end, it simply becomes too small to follow. You know, from orbital photographs you carry in memory, that some of these features run for thousands of kilometers. They circumnavigate the moon, they loop and cross other cracks at shallow angles, the way rivers on Earth cross and separate and rejoin. These are called linear lines. They are the surface record of everything the ocean beneath has ever done, every expansion, every contraction, every shift of pressure, every place where the ice thinned and opened and then closed again over 1,000 years. The entire surface of Europa is a map of its hidden ocean. You are walking on the map. Ahead of you, something interrupts the horizon. A ridge, a long, low wall of fractured ice. It rises gradually as you approach. Soon you are standing at its foot. You look up at something 15 meters high, a tangled compression of ice blocks, pushed up by the ocean's enormous, slow tidal pull, sculpted by 4 billion years. Europa's particular relationship with time and cold and darkness. On Earth, you would call this a pressure ridge. You would see something like it in the Arctic. Sea ice collides there. It buckles. It builds walls, but those are new, decades old, centuries at most. This ridge has been here for an incomprehensible span of time. It is being rebuilt, very slowly, by forces that have not stopped working for a single moment. Not since this moon condensed from the disk of material around young Jupiter. You place your gloved hand against the ice. You feel the texture of it, not smooth, not rough, something between, granular at the finest scale, ridged at the next, smooth again where 1 billion years of tiny impacts have polished it back toward glass. The color changes beneath your hand. Here, the ice is white, the white of compressed glacier ice, with all the air driven out. A meter to the left, it shades into pale, clear blue, the color of deep water seen from above, the color that ice becomes when it is very dense and very old. And in the crack between two ice blocks, a line of dark reddish-brown, thin as a pencil stroke, running up the wall, as straight as if someone had drawn it there. The Jupiter light falls on the ice from behind you. It casts your shadow long, up the face of the ridge. You watch the shadow for a moment, something that has never fallen on this ice before, the shape of a person, a human outline, on a surface that has never known shadows of this kind. You are the first. The thought moves through you slowly, the way the Jupiter light moves across the ice, not in a flash, but in a long, gradual illumination. You are the first. There is no equivalent for this. There is no place on Earth where you could stand and know that no one had stood before, where no shadow had fallen before yours. But here there is. You begin to climb the ridge, not with difficulty, not with effort. Slowly, steadily, you find the footholds. The tilted blocks hold your weight. You move up the face of this ancient wall of ice. It has been standing here since before there were animals on Earth. You climb because you want to see over the top. You want to know what is on the other side. The ridge rises steeply, then it eases near the crest. At the top you stop and look. On the other side, a plain. Another plain, slightly different in texture. The ice here is arranged in low domes and shallow troughs. This terrain is called chaos. At some point in the distant past, the ice below thinned. It thinned to near liquid. The surface broke into rafts and then refroze in new positions. It is like drift ice in an Arctic summer, reorganizing itself slowly and then locking again in winter. The domes are smooth, rounded, each one perhaps 100 meters across. Between them, the low troughs catch the Jupiter light. They hold it in a pale, flat glow. The shadows are different here, gentler, more diffuse. The surface itself is more varied. You stand at the top of the ridge. You look out over the chaos terrain. Jupiter is directly ahead of you now, still rising, still vast. Its bottom edge is just clearing the horizon. The hemisphere below the equator is fully visible. The equatorial belts are darker, the tropical zone lighter. A thin white line runs along the equatorial edge. The atmosphere catches sunlight there and scatters it before the bands fully form. You look at it for a long time. The cold holds your feet to the ridge. The stars burn behind Jupiter's limb, invisible in its glare, but there. They are there nonetheless. They will emerge when Jupiter has passed. From up here, the scale of things becomes clear. The plain you crossed looks like a vast, pale canvas. It stretches tight between two horizons, the one you came from, the one ahead. Each is the same distance away. Each one is perfectly level. Europa's surface curves only very gently, so gently you cannot feel it from the ground. From 15 meters up, you can just begin to sense it. The plane bends away from you, in all directions. The world here is round, the way all worlds are round. Gravity pulls the liquid beneath toward its own center. The ice above conforms to that pull. Every flat surface you walk on is a section of a sphere. The sphere curves toward its own heart, in every direction. At the heart is the rock, below the ocean. The ocean is above the rock. The ice is above the ocean, and you are on the ice. You stand there until you are ready to come down. You descend a ridge on the far side. You begin to cross the chaos terrain, moving between the low ice domes, slowly. And then you notice something. You have been heading toward one of the great linear, the crack systems you saw from the ridge. It is closer now, close enough to see it is not a single crack. It is a complex of them, a wide, brown band, perhaps 50 meters across, made up of multiple parallel ridges and troughs. The whole system runs northeast to southwest across the plain. It runs in a line so straight, it seems deliberate, seems engineered, though it is not. It is the result of tension in the ice skin. Europa's orbit brings it closer to Jupiter, then farther away. The tidal forces pull the ice apart and then relax, again and again, over billions of years. You approach the central crack. It is wider than you expected. 5 meters, perhaps 6. A narrow chasm between two faces of ice. You go to the edge, carefully. You look down. The crack descends into darkness. The walls are close enough to touch. On both sides, the ice is layered. You can see the horizontal strata, each layer a slightly different shade, white or blue. It is the record of new ice, added to the surface, compacted, buried, added again. The layers near the top are palest. As the crack deepens, the ice ages, the layers darken slightly, they compress, they take on the denser blue of very old ice. And below that, below what you can see, the crack continues down, down into a darkness the Jupiter light cannot reach. You lie down at the edge of the crack. You look into it. The darkness here is not like space. Space is dark in a way that still holds light. The light of stars, the light of Jupiter, the background brightness of everything. This darkness is different. It is bounded. It is the darkness of enclosure, the darkness of going down. You look into it. Your eyes adjust. You see nothing. Eventually, nothing but a faint suggestion of a darker blue. It is at the very limits of what the light can reach, and below that, nothing. The crack goes down 15 meters, 50 meters, a kilometer, 10 kilometers. At some depth, the ice is no longer ice. It becomes something else, something warmer, under enormous pressure, partway between solid and fluid, and below that, at some depth, the ice becomes water. The ocean of Europa is 100 kilometers deep. That is a number. Numbers do not always mean anything. Try to hold it differently. The ocean floor is 100 kilometers below you. If you dropped Mount Everest into this ocean, it wouldn't reach 1/10 of the way down. 1/10. The Mariana Trench is the deepest point in any Earth ocean. It is 11 kilometers deep. Europa's ocean floor is perhaps 9 times deeper than that. The amount of water here is greater than all the liquid water on Earth, all of it combined. The rivers, the lakes, the seas, the groundwater. The ice locked in Antarctica and Greenland, melted, added together, and then more water beyond that, all of it here, beneath the ice you're lying on, invisible, dark, and, you don't know, possibly not empty. You breathe slowly. You look down into the crack. Let the thought of the ocean come to you, the way a tide comes, gradually, filling the low places first. The ocean has been here for billions of years. It has been sealed under ice, in the dark, for billions of years, in the warmth of Jupiter's tidal squeezing. With the chemicals the ocean floor has leached from the rock below, and the chemicals the ice above has filtered down from the surface. Whether life needs those chemicals, and that warmth, and that time, this is not known. This will perhaps not be known for a very long time. What is known is that the conditions are not obviously wrong. The conditions are, in some ways, not unlike the place where life first emerged, in Earth's deep oceans, dark, warm at the bottom, rich in minerals, given time in incomprehensible quantities. You do not feel afraid, lying here at the edge of this crack. You do not feel afraid over this dark. You feel something quieter than fear, something quieter than hope, a kind of open attention, the way you feel watching a wide river in silence, knowing the river goes somewhere you have not been, knowing it carries things you cannot see, but watching anyway, because the watching is enough. The ocean is there, below the ice, below the dark. Whether it is empty or not, it is there. It has been there since the solar system was young. It will be there long after everything you have known has changed beyond recognition. You remain at the edge of the crack for a long time. The light in the crack changes. Jupiter continues its slow arc across the sky. When you first looked in, the light fell at one angle. It illuminated one wall of the crack in amber. The other wall remained in shadow. Now the angle has shifted slightly. The illuminated wall has dimmed. The shadowed wall has brightened. The light redistributes itself with the patience that all things here have, patient because they have been doing this for billions of years. They have long since stopped noticing. You watch the light move in the crack, the way you might watch light move across a room in the early morning, slowly, continuously, with a quality of inevitability that is not unpleasant. The ice walls hold the light well. The ice walls hold everything well. They have been holding this crack open for millions of years, creeping toward each other at a few centimeters per century, until eventually this crack will close. The ocean's pressure will open a new one somewhere else. The lineae will be drawn again in a slightly different place. The record of the ocean's motion will continue to be written on the surface, as it always has been, in the only language available here, the language of ice and time, the patient, vast mechanics of a world in motion. You rise from the edge, you turn. Jupiter has climbed higher now. It is perhaps halfway up the sky, no longer sitting on the horizon, something you look up at, something almost overhead. In the time you spent at the crack, it became ordinary. You have been here long enough for that. This is how it happens. The extraordinary becomes the context. The stars are the context. The cold is the context. Jupiter is the context. You have been here long enough. The context has shifted, and what shifts with it is the weight of the ordinary world. It feels very far away, farther even than the kilometers suggest. You walk back across the chaos terrain. You cross the low domes, the shallow troughs. You find a flat place on the ice between two domes, a smooth stretch, nearly level. Jupiter light falls here, unobstructed. You lie down on your back. You look straight up. Jupiter is directly overhead, or close to it. From this angle, lying still, with the ice beneath you, it is not a rising thing, not a setting thing, not something on the horizon. It is simply there, above you. It fills the upper portion of your vision. You can look at it without turning your head. You don't need to find the right angle. You look at it the way you'd look at a ceiling, a very large ceiling, very beautiful, very slowly moving. Your body sinks into the ice beneath you. It relaxes, it lets go. Gravity here is 1/8 of what you know, light and heavy, both at once. Light, the way things feel light. When you are very tired, you have finally been allowed to stop. The bands. You let your eyes rest on them. Simply watch. The north equatorial belt is a deep rust orange. Within it, if you watch a single patch, you can see a very slow rotation, a shear, a flow. Material at one latitude moves slightly faster than the material beside it. The equatorial zone above is cream, almost white. In it there are waves, enormous undulations in the cloud layer, each one large enough to contain a continent. They move slowly, in the opposite direction to the belt below. Below the equatorial belt, another zone, another belt. The colors repeat, in a slightly different order, slightly different shades, slightly different textures. It is a pattern that has been here since Jupiter condensed from the disk, the early solar system. It will be here when the sun exhausts itself, when it expands, when it changes everything. It is not going anywhere. It is simply being what it is, in the patient, enormous, indifferent way that very large things are what they are. The great red spot isn't visible tonight. It is on the far side of Jupiter's disk, rotating away, that enormous storm. It has spun continuously for at least 350 years, perhaps much longer, a storm larger than the entire Earth. It runs on the differential rotation of gas layers beneath it, nothing else, self-sustaining, the way that very large things become self-sustaining. It feeds on the conditions its own size creates. You don't need to see it, you know it's there. You find that you like knowing it's there. On the other side, out of sight, spinning. Your breathing slows. Your weight on the ice is a comfortable thing. Not cold the way lying in snow on Earth would be cold, but held, contained, supported. The ice is very flat, very old, very solid. It holds you without complaint, without yielding. You've been walking for a long time. You've climbed a ridge and descended it. You've crossed a chaos terrain, lain at the edge of a crack, walked back. Now you are lying on your back, looking at Jupiter. Your body knows it has been active. It would like to rest. Resting here, in this particular place, is among the simplest things you've ever done. You close your eyes. In the darkness behind your closed eyes, you don't see nothing. You see ice, slowly, gradually, as if your imagination is a light, adjusting. You see the ice through which the ocean extends. You see it from inside. It's not a journey in any mechanical sense. You're not moving. You simply find yourself deeper, as if the ice is permeable to attention, as if closing your eyes and letting the ocean come to mind is enough to travel toward it. The ice at the surface is cold, crystalline. Its molecules are locked in a rigid lattice, temperature near zero. But as you go deeper, not moving, only descending in attention, the ice changes. It becomes more complex. The layers darken with age. The crystal structures shift. The pressure of kilometers above presses down. It makes the ice denser, stranger, a form that doesn't exist on Earth's surface. Pressures like this aren't available to ordinary ice. Deeper, the temperature, very gradually, imperceptibly, begins to change. The ice isn't as cold as the surface now. Jupiter's tidal squeezing generates heat through friction, heat in the rock below, and in the ice above. That heat has to go somewhere. It goes here, into the deepest ice, warming it, not enough to melt from the top, but enough to keep the bottom from freezing. You move through the ice the way time moves through ice, completely, without resistance, leaving no trace. And then the ice is no longer ice. There is no boundary you can see, no line, no interface, but at some point, you are not in ice anymore. You are in water. The darkness is complete. Not the cold darkness of the surface, not the darkness of deep crevasses glimpsed from above, but the darkness of an enclosed ocean. It has never received a single photon of sunlight, not once, not in the entire history of the solar system. The darkness here is not the absence of something. The darkness here is what is here. It is the ocean's own substance, as much a part of it as the water and the minerals and the cold. You drift. The water is not cold like the surface ice was cold. It is cold the way deep water is cold, the way the bottom of the Pacific is cold, a few degrees above freezing, a steady temperature, one that has not varied much in a very long time. The pressure here would be enormous by any measure of Earth, but you drift through it without weight, without resistance, without sensation, except the darkness and the motion, the slight currents that move through this water, the way they move through any ocean, slowly, in patterns that take years to complete. Far below, you are not at the bottom yet. You are somewhere in the mid-water, the vast middle distance of 100-kilometer ocean, and far below you, something is warm. You sense it before you reach it, the way you sense a fire in a dark room before you see its light. The bottom of Europa's ocean is not cold at all. The bottom of Europa's ocean is heated by hydrothermal vents, places where tidal energy keeps this ocean liquid. That energy has worked its way all the way to the rock below. It has expressed itself as heat, as chemistry, as mineral-rich water rising from the ocean floor in plumes, the way hydrothermal vents on Earth rise from the mid-ocean ridges. You know what lives around those vents on Earth. You know that in complete darkness, under enormous pressure, heated only by the Earth's interior, life clusters there, ecosystems of it, communities of organisms, dependent on chemistry, not sunlight, life, making a living at the very bottom of the sea. Whether something lives here, this is not known. Around Europa's vents, in this ocean, sealed under ice since before the Earth had life. You drift toward the warmth of the vents, without expectation, without hope, without fear. The darkness is the same, whether it holds something or nothing. The currents are the same, the temperature rising from below, the same. You move through all of it with the patience of the ice itself, the ice that has been doing its slow work above this ocean for as long as the ocean has existed, neither knowing nor not knowing what it covers, simply covering it, keeping it warm below, sealed against the cold above, patient, the way things with no consciousness are always patient, absolutely, without effort, without any alternative. There is something down here, or there is not. This is Europa's condition, unknown, unanswered, perhaps unanswerable, for a very long time, in this ocean, in this darkness, drifting in imagined water. You find that uncertainty isn't uncomfortable. It is a kind of space, a kind of room, a room large enough to hold every possible answer. The ocean holds the question the way it holds the water, completely, without preference, without urgency. The dark has been here since the solar system assembled. It will be here until Jupiter's gravity shifts and this moon's orbit changes, until something fundamental alters, and that won't be soon. Not soon, by any measure of time that matters to you. Lying here, in imagined water, at imagined depth, in an ocean that isn't imagined at all. You drift upward. You drift through the midwater, through the deep cold, through the place where water approaches the ice base. The temperature drops, the ice begins again. You pass through it, rising now, slowly, through ancient layers, through billions of years, compressed into crystal. Hundreds of thousands of years, in a single breath. The temperature rises, cold, to very cold, to absolute cold. The surface comes, the ice ends, and you are outside again, lying on your back, on the plain, with Jupiter moving above you. You open your eyes. Jupiter has moved. It's past the zenith now, descending, moving toward the horizon ahead, the direction you think of as west. Directions here are chosen by convention, not by the sun's arc. The sun is too distant to serve as compass. The shadows on the ice have shifted, lengthened slightly, in a different direction. The Jupiter light reaching the surface now is fractionally warmer, still amber cream, but the amber is deepening, the cream is thinning out. Jupiter, in its long descent, is changing its light, the way the setting sun does, growing richer as it goes. You lie still a moment longer, looking at Jupiter descending. You remember the ocean below you, or not remembering exactly, because it's still there, still a fact beneath the ice, still dark, still vast, neither empty nor confirmed full. It is in the same condition it was before you visited it in imagination, unchanged by your attention. The ocean doesn't know you were there, the ocean doesn't know anything, but you know it's there, and knowing has changed something about the quality of the ice beneath you. It feels less like a floor now, more like a surface, the top layer of something very deep, the skin of a world that extends far below what you can touch. You sit up slowly. You rise to your feet. You stand on the ice. You look at Jupiter descending. It is still vast. It will be vast until it reaches the horizon. Even then, it will not shrink gradually. The moon shrinks as it rises. Jupiter is different. There is no atmosphere here, no air to bend the light, no trick of the eye. That illusion cannot form. Jupiter will look exactly the same size at the horizon, the same size as it looks overhead now, enormous, banded, slowly churning, patient. You begin to walk toward it. You walk toward Jupiter, but it is not like walking toward the setting sun. On Earth, the light warms your face, the shadows fall behind you. You move into a gradient. Here, the light does not warm your face. It illuminates the ice ahead. It casts long, pale shadows behind you. The sky around you, unchanged. You look in any direction, stars, the Milky Way, the permanent dark of space, surrounding everything. Jupiter holds its portion of that dark, nothing else. But you walk toward it anyway. There is a pull toward something so large. There is always a pull toward a fire. A cold room needs that warmth. A dark street needs a lit window. The plain ahead is quieter now. You cross the chaos terrain. That is behind you. This is something older, more settled. A smooth expanse of ice, resurfaced once, long ago, then left alone. It gathered dust, very slowly, the finest rain of micrometeorite dust. That is the closest thing to weather here on Europa. The cracks still run through it, distant, parallel lines. They stain the white blue with brown. Between the cracks, the surface is nearly featureless, flat, pale, lit by the golden light of Jupiter descending. And then you find it. You did not know you were looking for it. A bowl in the ice, not large, perhaps 10 meters across, perhaps half a meter deep, a gentle depression where the ice once subsided very slightly, then refroze at that lower level, a shallow dish left by time. It collects the Jupiter light, it holds it in a faint, concentrated glow. You walk into the bowl, you sit down inside it. Sitting here is like sitting in a cupped hand. The ice walls are low around you, just enough to feel enclosed, just enough to feel held. And ahead of you, framed by the lip of the bowl and the flat plain beyond, Jupiter descends toward the horizon. You settle in. The cold holds you without cruelty. It is the cold of a thing, not cold for your sake, not warm for your sake, not anything for your sake, a cold that simply is, that has been, that will continue long after this moment, long after this particular version of you, sitting in this bowl of ice, watching Jupiter set over an ocean. That ocean may be full or empty, it may be alive or not, it may be the second place in all the solar system where life found a foothold, or the most beautiful emptiness in the known universe. You do not know. You are sitting in it, in the not knowing, in the extraordinary fact of this moon, this ocean, this sky, and the not knowing is fine. The not knowing is exactly what this place is made of. The bottom edge of Jupiter touches the horizon. It doesn't flatten the way the sun does on Earth. There is no atmosphere to refract the light, no atmosphere to stretch its disk. It simply reaches the horizon, then begins, slowly, to be concealed by it. The bottom 10th disappears behind the curve of the ice plane, then the bottom 5th, then the bottom 3rd. The bands still visible above the horizon seem to glow more intensely. They are catching the last angle, the last geometry of the light path. The colors deepen. The rust orange of the equatorial belt becomes almost brick red. The cream of the zone becomes gold, so pale it is almost white, and between them the subtle greens and grays. You barely notice them when Jupiter was overhead. They emerge briefly in the dying angle of the light. The light on the plain around you is changing. As Jupiter descends, its reflected sunlight arrives at a lower angle, lower to the surface. The shadows lengthen, your own shadow, stretched out behind you, across the bowl, up onto the far wall. It grows longer and thinner, until it looks like a shadow cast by a figure in a dream. Thin, pale, quiet. The light catches the high points of the ice, the far lips of the bowl, the distant pressure ridges at the horizon. It catches and holds for a moment in brilliant gold, then slowly dims. Jupiter's equator crosses the horizon. Only the upper half of Jupiter is visible now. Only the northern polar region remains. It hangs above the line of the world. The polar region is different here, different from the belts and the zones. It is more turbulent, less organized, more chaotic. Swirls and ovals crowd together. Irregular features press against each other, less orderly. More of the disorder that comes with polar circulation. You watch it descend. The colors are the most extraordinary they have been. Deep gold and amber and a brick red, almost orange. In the very last visible portion, the uppermost curves of the cloud tops, there is a pale, luminous cream. It holds the light long after the rest is gone. And then it is gone. Not all at once. The last thin arc of atmosphere holds the light for a moment. The disk itself has set. A faint crescent of warm color remains at the horizon. Then that too fades. The horizon is the horizon again, a flat line of ice, a sky full of stars. The stars come back to their full brilliance. Without Jupiter's light, without the amber gold coloring the ice and shadows, the starlight takes over. Starlight is white. The ice under starlight is a different ice, blue-white, colder seeming. Each small surface irregularity casts a tiny sharp shadow. Europa in pure starlight looks like something very old, very delicate, something that would be destroyed by too much attention. The Milky Way is fully visible now, all of it, from one end of the sky to the other. Without Jupiter's competing light, it is brighter, denser, more present. You can see individual stars in the densest portions. You can see the dark lanes where dust absorbs the light behind it. At the center of the galaxy, directly overhead, there is a concentration of light so dense it glows, a core of stars so tightly packed. From here, 628 million kilometers from Earth, on the moon of Jupiter, at the edge of the inner solar system, the galactic center looks like a pale ember, light held in the bowl of a dark sky. You lie back in the bowl of the ice and look up at it. The cold beneath you is complete. Every part of you touches the ice. Your back, your shoulders, your arms, the backs of your legs, your heels. There is no part of you not resting here, supported by the ice, held by it. This cold has been cold for 4.5 billion years, and will be cold for 4.5 billion more. You are a warmth, a small temporary warmth. The ice does not mind, the ice does not know, the ice simply is. Being here with it, in its enormous indifference, is rest. The deepest rest you have ever known. The stars do not move, or they move so slowly, too slowly for you to see. The blue-white stars, fixed in their blue-whiteness, the gold stars, fixed in their warmth, the faint red stars at the edge of what you can see. Everything up there is moving at enormous speeds, and none of it appears to move. Only the stillness, only that. Your breathing slows. The ice holds you. The silence of Europa is not something you hear. It is something you are in. You have been in it since you arrived, since your first breath, since the cold came up through your boots. Now you are lying here, stars above, ocean below. The silence surrounds you in every direction. It has no edges here. It extends down into the ice, down into the ocean below, up into the space above, across the surface of the moon, to the far side, past Jupiter, past the asteroid belt, past Mars, past Earth. The silence of space is everywhere. It has always been everywhere. Europa is simply the place where you are resting in it. The stars above you. The ice beneath you. You drift and breathe. The dark holds you gently. You are still. You are here. You are safe. The ocean, below the ice, in the dark, in its incomprehensible depth. You are very still. The cold holds you, patient, with a patience it will never run out of. You breathe. The stars are out. The Milky Way crosses the sky, from one edge to the other. You are here, on the ice, at the far edge of the solar system's warmth, in the silence that has no name. Your breathing is slow, your body is heavy, the ice is beneath you, solid and old and cold. Above you, the stars are fixed, burning, patient. You breathe in. You breathe out. The ice. The dark. The stars. You are still. You are here. You are at rest.